Thanks for clicking. The $418 million NAR settlement coming out of the United States could have a trickle-down effect on the Canadian real estate market. This according to Tom Davidoff at the UBC Sauder School of Business.
Oh no.
Yeah, if you've been on any social media over the past week, any media really, you'll know that U.S. realtors are having a very public meltdown, as sellers agents will no longer be allowed to offer buyers agents commissions up front on a listing, meaning potentially tens of thousands of dollars in lost commissions. And a similar case is unfolding here in Canada against the CREA and a number of other brokerages, which could obviously have a number of implications for Canada's real estate market should we see the same result as that of the US. So what I want to do today is go over the case in the United States, take a look at some potential implications for the Canadian real estate market if we get the same result here, and then end off by offering some good news for real estate agents.
Don't get too excited.
Now, similar to the video where we discussed the tens of thousands of real estate workers leaving the real estate industry along with the free money, if you clicked on this video thinking it was going to contain a lot of poking fun at those who benefited when Governor Macklem began printing them a bunch of money, sending their ego to the sky along with prices, then sit back and enjoy. But there are also some real concrete implications which could have major changes on the Canadian real estate market. We will continue to track this case and the implications stemming therefrom on this channel. Click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, let's get into this case. On to the NAR settlement in the U.S., which saw the National Association of Realtors agree to pay $418 million in an antitrust lawsuit. The lawsuit stemmed from how sellers and buyers agents are paid, with sellers arguing that they were compelled into commission-sharing agreements in order to get their homes listed on MLS. So, the seller's agent would charge a commission of between 5 and 6%, some of which would be split with the buyer's agent, and that split would be advertised on MLS. And the issue lies with competition, in that if sellers wanted to negotiate a lower commission structure with the seller's agent, that lower commission would be passed on to the buyer's agent, who would then turn their clients away from that particular listing.
So how much you pay your listing agent is tied to how much of a commission gets offered to the buyer's agent. And that's not very competitive, because if you say, hey, I want to pay you less, they'll say, well, that's great, but now you've got to pay the buyer's agent less, and they're not going to want to show your house.
And make no mistake, this wasn't just happening in the United States. It was, and is, happening in the Canadian real estate market as well, as documented by CBC Marketplace 2 years ago.
Estate agents take their buyers to high commission homes and avoid low commission ones like Joanne's.
With that said, it's no longer going to be happening in the United States, as the settlement agreement now prohibits agents' fees from being advertised on the MLS portal. So, as it looks right now, home sellers will no longer be paying for the commission of the buyer's agents.
Do you realize what you've done?
Shortly after the ruling, if you've been watching social media, the public tantrum ensued, with some realtors in the States even comparing their profession to that of lawyers. Yeah, get over yourself. To be admitted to Western law, you need at least a 3-year degree, preferably 4, a 3.7 GPA, and score in the 80th percentile in the LSAT. In contrast, to attend realtor school, applicants must speak English, be able to spell their own name, and have $125, and be willing to make fun of poor people in marketing materials, apparently. Regardless, what the ruling does mean is that in the future, buyers may be responsible for paying their own buyer's agent, with the Washington Post noting that we're going to find out how truly valued realtors are.
That's not good, it's not good.
And, just as a side note, this is a little ironic, as, in general, I think buyer's agents do relatively more than that of seller's agents, showing multiple houses, writing multiple offers, and pushing FOMO and advising against finance conditions that put their clients' financial future at risk.
You have any idea how hard I work?
But I digress. As a result of the settlement, buyer's agent commission is expected to drop substantially, as the newly required transparency will make it easier for buyers to negotiate fees or bypass the use of agents altogether. And that makes sense. Buyer's agents are now going to have to engage in the competitive marketplace, competing against one another for business and pricing their services accordingly. You know, like everyone else. But What that also means is that buyers are going to have to start paying for their buyer's agents out of pocket. Right now, if you buy a home for $500,000, that 5 or 6% commission is built right into the price. If it's 5%, 2.5% goes to the buyer's agent, 2.5% goes to the seller's agent, allowing home buyers to basically finance the cost of their buyer's agent over the life of their mortgage. But that cost is no longer going to be included in the purchase price. And if buyers are going to have to pay out of pocket, if buyers are going to have to pay out of their down payment funds, they might be more willing to shop around. If an agent showed you 3 homes and you bought the third, are you going to be willing to part with $15,000 out of pocket?
I'm worth it.
We'll find out, won't we? And how this all plays out, how buyers' agents are going to be paid, has yet to be seen. Steve Nicastro, a real estate agent from the United States, says we could see pay move to more of a fee for service rather than a commission structure, as in a flat fee for service. The agent shows you X amount of houses, writes X amount of offers, and you pay that agent Y dollars, which to a certain extent makes a lot more sense than the current commission structure. The car dealership pays its car salesman a commission in order to incentivize them to make sales and increase revenue. Looking at the real estate market, a commission-based structure does in fact align with sellers and sellers' agents. Both want to get the most amount of money for the sale of that house. But is that really the case on the buyer's side? Buyers want the lowest price possible, and buyers' agents are paid based off commission. The higher the price, the higher the commission. It's an inherent conflict of interest. With that said, the settlement could also force down the commissions on the seller's side as well, as buyers can no longer be told that a lower commission will stop their houses from getting noticed on MLS.
It was a good ride while it lasted.
Sellers' agents may be forced to negotiate.
Second.
According to Merriam-Webster's, you get the idea. And while this is just a US case and the Canadian case is still ongoing, if the Canadian case results in the same way as that of the US, we could see these changes come to the Canadian market as well. Further, in addition to the increase in competition, which in and of itself is good for consumers, we could see more incentive for builders to build, something Canada sorely needs, as builders not having to pay buyer's agents will significantly reduce costs. So, all in all, if this comes to Canada, if we see a similar result in the Canadian case, that will in and of itself be good for home buyers, good for consumers, good for home buyers, bad for Range Rover dealers. Now, I did promise some good news for realtors who are admittedly having a rough go of it. The good news is that real estate commissions are included in the CPI basket, so if this case does come to fruition, we should see even more downward pressure on Canada's inflation rate, which would give Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem even more leeway to lower interest rates, something the real estate industry has been promising, solely out of concern for the consumer. No, but seriously, as some of you may have noticed, I at times have expressed a marginal dislike for realtors.
I hadn't noticed.
But that dislike only stems from experience. Seeing some offer ridiculous self-serving advice, putting their client's financial future at risk, getting calls from some telling me to just find a way to get it done, which is code for go do a fraud. I have BMW payments. But I've also met some very, very good realtors. Realtors that do look out for their clients, realtors that do their due diligence, realtors that are just out trying to make a living just like everyone else. The good news for them, for those good realtors, is that if this does come to Canada, it will force realtors to show their worth. And I think the good ones will.
What about how this affects the rest of us?
Might want to study up on rust proofing. So, many changes coming out of the US real estate market, some predicting that's going to come here to Canada, which could fundamentally alter the way Canadians buy and sell homes. We will obviously continue to track how this case unfolds on this channel. Click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, thanks so much for watching.